Merry Christmas, everyone. Today we're going to talk about humility because Christmas celebrates the humility of God. Because God comes to us not in power, not as a fully grown adult. He comes as a baby. Why? So that he can disarm us, so that we can all let down our defenses. We're going to consider three ideas. First, where do we need to admit our need for help? Where do you want to grow this year? Second, if we were more humble, how would our lives change? Would we speak differently to people? Would we speak differently to our spouse, our children, our parents? And do we need to humble ourselves in front of anyone? And third, would our lives be better if we didn't blame other people? Because humility always takes responsibility for its situation rather than blaming other people. The Gospel of Christmas night says, "While they were there, the time came for her to deliver her child, and she gave birth to her firstborn son, and wrapped him in swaddling clothes, and laid him in a manger, because there was no place for them in the inn." So there's humility in each of these phrases. The first one, while they were there, that refers to Bethlehem, this small, unimportant town, very humble. That's where God chooses to come from. Second, the time came for her to deliver her child. It refers to Mary. In the eyes of the world, she's done nothing. And truly, she actually is the most humble creature ever. And third, and she gave birth to her firstborn son. So Christmas is about God reaching out to the human race. He creates us, he loves us, but humans, we always reject God. And he still humbles himself to come to reach out to us. Fourth, the fathers of the church interpret that swaddling clothes, the swaddling clothes, as prefiguring Jesus' death, his burial. So right from the get-go, this little baby is destined to die. And he is going to overcome our pride with his humility. And finally, the baby is in a manger, the Holy Family is in a stable, because there was no place for them in the inn. So symbolically, this family, it's already rejected by humanity. Again, very humble. So all these elements showing God's humility. So let's go back to our three ideas. First, where do we need to admit our need for help? How do you want to grow this upcoming year? Pope Benedict XVI talked about Christmas revealing God's poverty. God is poor. He has a certain kind of poverty in his humility. And so all of us need to become a bit better at admitting our own poverty. For those of you who weren't here, last June, I just shared with all of you how a year and a half ago, Archbishop Miller asked me to go for counseling because of my stress. And I found that embarrassing. I didn't want to admit that to anyone. But finally, with God's help, just share that. And now I haven't stopped going for counseling because I love it. I go every 3 weeks. I love growing. And at the end of today's homily, we're just going to just show a quick video about our 2 programs of spiritual growth starting the first week of January. Second, if we were more humble, how would our relationships change? How would we speak differently to other people? 2 humble people always have a better relationship than 2 proud people. So humility is always important in relationships. St. John of the Cross said, "Where you find no love, put love, and you will draw out love." If there's a relationship in your life where you say, well, there's not a lot of love there, could you put a bit of love into it? If you do, you might be able to draw out love, because that's what God does at Christmas. Humanity doesn't really love God for all of our existence. We always reject him, so he finds no love. So he puts love into it. He sends his son, and then he can draw out love, because there's at least one person, and then our Mother Mary, and then a few other people who start to love God the Father in return. Do we have to humble ourselves in front of anyone? Because if we humble ourselves, it might allow them to be humble. Give you an example of this. So Father Robert Spitzer, he goes to Ireland, And he gives a talk on the parable of the prodigal son. And the parable of the prodigal son reveals God the Father's goodness. So in the parable, the son, he insults his father, takes his money, runs away, and wastes his life. And all that time, the father's never resentful. He's never bitter towards his own son. He just waits for his son to come home. And as soon as his son does come home, the father's just happy that his son is safe and sound. So during this talk, Father Spitzer's explaining this, and this one Irish Protestant terrorist, former terrorist, a soldier, he starts crying because he's just amazed at how good God the Father is. And so 6 months later, during a peace conference between the Catholics and the Protestants, because they were fighting for a long time, this Protestant goes up and he says, in humility, he says, that priest, that Catholic priest, was the one who showed me who God the Father really is. That's a very humble admission. Well, that humble admission, it sparks goodness in the Catholic side of the violence, and the Catholic leader, he goes up on stage and he shakes the other guy's hand. So the idea, if one person in a relationship can just humble themselves, would that allow the other person to humble themselves? And third idea, how would our lives change if we didn't blame other people, if we took more responsibility for our situation? One key biblical theme is that the Jewish people rarely blame God for their life. So when things are really bad, they don't blame. That's really interesting. Very different from our Canadian culture. So when Mary and Joseph are in the manger, everyone rejects them, no place to go, they're not mad at God. And so maybe on this most sacred day, today, Christmas, this most holy day, I wonder if we could do our best just to put aside any bitterness, any resentment, any unjust anger. And we can turn to God the Father for help. And a very beautiful way to do it is just to make what we call an honest prayer. What's an honest prayer? Just speak from the heart to the one who loves you. Don't worry about getting your prayer wrong or making mistakes in the words. No poetry, just from the heart to the one who loves you. When she was 13 years old, Thérèse Martin, she was aware of her extreme sensitivity. And for those of you who are here on Sunday, this is what I told you about, how she overcame her emotional problems. So she's aware she cries too much. There's a problem here. She knows that. And she said she felt helpless to overcome it. But she said the infant baby Jesus worked a miracle for her on a small scale on Christmas when she was 13 years old. So what happened is her family goes to midnight mass, and when they go home, she's really looking forward to opening presents because that's what they always do. And when she runs upstairs, she overhears her father, Louis. He says, "Really, all this is too babyish for a big girl like Thérèse. And I hope it is the last year it will happen." Well, she overhears this, she starts crying, she's hurt. And her older sister Celine whispers to her, "Don't go downstairs." But at that moment, Thérèse makes a choice to follow Jesus' example. She decides to hold back her tears, and she runs down the stairs, and she chooses to be happy. And her father laughs. He's really happy. And Celine can't believe the way her sister is acting. And it's not acting, it's real, the way she's choosing to be. And so Thérèse said she regained her strength of mind. And from that point on, her tears flowed neither easily nor often. And it's so good, like we talked about last Sunday, most of us know Thérèse is a saint, and her father, Louis, is a saint. And that gives us so much hope. Wow, even imperfect people like us with our own emotional problems, we can become saints. And even saints hurt each other unintentionally. So Saint Thérèse was very humble on that Christmas. She didn't blame anyone. She took responsibility for her situation and she turned to Jesus. So my personal hope for all of us, I hope we can let down our guard just a little this Christmas. I hope our hearts can soften so that we can receive the peace that Jesus wants to give us. And finally, the 2 programs that we're starting in January, I hope everyone can partake of it, is Alpha and the Marriage Course. So quick explanation, Alpha is about the essentials of Christianity. We run it at night, and it always starts with dinner, 25-minute video, and then a discussion in your small group. And you can say whatever you want in your small group. Don't feel like you have to hold back. And this is open to everyone, no matter your faith background, and there's no commitment. You can either do it online or in person. And then secondly, the marriage course, that's just about marriage enrichment. It's about improving your marriage. So this one is only done online. So couples watch the video together, and then they go into their own homes, and husband and wife just discuss what they just saw. So again, no commitment for either of these things. So it's beautiful if you just want to try it, and you can invite your friends to take it too. And again, no faith background. You'll see in the video, Ricky, he is not Catholic, and his wife Vivian is. So before we show the video, just want to say once again, Merry Christmas.
I wanted to take Alpha because a friend of mine invited me, and he knew I had a lot of questions, and I grew up Catholic, so he invited me and offered to join me during the program. I had a great experience. Everyone was super nice. The leaders were great. We ate great food. We laughed a lot. And we talked a lot about serious things, that questions that we all had, or similar questions that we all had. The thing that had the biggest impact on me was when we prayed together. I had never prayed with a small group of people. It was very intimate. It was very interesting, and very powerful. Anyone interested in taking the program, I would encourage them to take it. There's no risk. There's good food. You're going to meet people. The worst case scenario is that you're going to leave with new friends. And the best case scenario is you're going to have renewed faith. And hopefully you'll be re-engaged in your quest or your journey in your faith.
We wanted to strengthen our marriage and to also communicate better, because we feel like sometimes we lack communication. I mean, with 2 kids around, we're always busy.
Yeah, it's definitely a positive experience. We definitely enjoyed it, especially having the time to ourselves and being able to kind of discuss issues that we never had time to discuss before. Yeah. We're always, you always want to learn more and try to improve your relationship. So definitely having this course for us to kind of move forward in our relationship will definitely help us move forward with our relationship with God as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we will be taking this course over and over and over again, probably every couple of years, just to refresh our memories and kind of see where we're at, and just kind of get closer and, have better communication. Whatever stages of marriage they're at, I feel like anyone would benefit.
It just opens up the channels of communication, and you cannot but not prosper from it or enjoy it.
Yeah.
And it's, best of all, it's pretty much free. So where can you get that, right? It's the best deal in town.